I got like 2 more rows to do, so I'm getting close to the bottom. I just want to show you my jerry-rigged method I've been using to keep my rows straight. These are my, actually these are my old long arm clamps, and this is the Velcro. And I just sewed them together, and I have it across the bottom of my quilt, and I just put these little clips here, and so I know that's where my quilt top needs to be when it comes down, and it works really good. I like it. So my long arm clamps I use, they're retractable ones that I have. My husband made this one for me, and then these I actually bought from somebody, but they're easy to make if you want to make one. And I just like them better because it's quick and easy. I can take it off and pull it up, and I don't have to mess with all the, with these stupid things hanging out everywhere. They're always in the way. So anyway, that's my okified way of keeping my top straight, and you can see my top is straight, and I do float my quilts, and it's the border and the bottom is straight, so everything looks good. It's coming out real nice. I just have to finish these 2 rows and then stitch around my little chickens, which will be the easiest part, I think. So almost done. More ramblings of a long arm quilter. I guess I just need somebody to talk to today. I don't know. So before I bought my Gammill, I was going to buy a Nova. I had the money. I just sold my other long arm, and the lady had already wrote up the contract, and she was like 7 hours away from where I live. And so she says, okay, well, we can deliver your long arm after you come over and take a class. Like, I've been quilting for a long time. I don't need to take no class. Oh, but you have to take a class before we deliver the long arm. And I was like, yeah, I'm not traveling 7 hours away to take a class. I mean, I'm a IT person. I can figure out software like nobody's business. So it's not like it's going to be hard for me. And she's like, oh, no, well, we can't deliver it without you coming over to take a class. And I was like, okay, well, then I am not buying your long arm. And so I was kind of upset about it because we had a lot of stuff going on at work at the time. And I just, even if I wanted to go, it wasn't going to happen anytime soon. And I wasn't going to be without a long arm for that long. And so I canceled the contract with her. And then the owner of Nova called me, asking what happened. I said, what happened was just wanting me to take a class I don't want. And I'm, paying all this money for a long arm, and you guys still want to deliver it to me until I take a class, and that's just not going to work for me. And he says, oh, no, we could have worked something out. And I'm like, it's too late. I ended up going to like a quilt or a show. It was in Fresno at the time, and Fresno, California. And they had a Gammill dealer there, and I looked at the Gammills, and actually Gammills were the first quilting machine I actually wanted to buy before I bought my handy quilter. It was just a lot of money, and I didn't think I wanted to spend that much money on one. And so I talked to that lady, and I asked her if I had to take a class before she delivered my long arm. She goes, well, we do recommend you, come in and take a class, but we will deliver it without you taking a class. And I'm sure they probably do that just so that they aren't liable for something, or, have somebody come back and say, hey, you didn't teach me anything and I don't know how to use this machine. But I'm not that person. I don't return stuff. I don't ask people for help. I work on my own machines, you know. I don't take them in for a repair most of the time. I mean, the only time I've been taking my sewing machines in is just the last few times. I've never took my sewing machines in for repair. I've always done everything. But so I'm just not the kind of person that needs a lot of help in that area. And I'm mechanically inclined, and technically I can figure out software, so I didn't really see the problem. And I'd been longarm quilting for a long time, so anyway, she delivered it. I think she did have a little bit of reservation, you know, not having me come up and take a class. I have never ever talked to her since then. You know, I've never had to have any help from her. They came and set up my longer arm, and the guy that set it up was a really nice guy. I liked him. But I was still having a little bit of stitching problem after he set it up, and I just figured it out and moved on. So, but I totally get it. I mean, there's people that are not the same and that need more help, and that's okay too. But I mean, to totally say you're not going to give somebody something they paid a lot of money for because they're not going to take a class with you, I have a problem with that. That's, you know, there's a long ways to go. It would have cost me another $500 to fly over there, and there was no way I was going to drive over there. And I would have been bored to death having somebody try to teach me this. I prefer to figure it out on my own. Just stubborn that way, I guess. But yeah, I was really surprised the owner called me. It's like, I mean, I didn't want to get the lady in trouble or anything, you know. It's her business. She can run it any way she wants, but I just didn't care. It just didn't match, you know, what I needed. So I'm glad I didn't buy the Nova. I kind of like the idea of, you know, they have the large format embroidery with the Novas, and I kind of like that idea. But I think they still had the tablet on the thing, and I think that would have annoyed me. So I'm glad I didn't buy it. I like this one. This one works for me. So that was my story on getting a long arm. So the reason I ended up with a long arm in the first place is the friend that I was telling you about that I put the Baptist fan on her quilt. She's the one that got me back into quilting. You know, I've always sewed all my life, and I made my clothes when my kids were younger because I was poor and I couldn't afford anything. It used to be cheaper to make your clothes, but not anymore. And so I made my kids' clothes, and I made some of my clothes, and made all my maternity clothes and things like that. And I made a couple of quilts when the kids were small, but nothing. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing for sure. But, so my friend got me. She said, "Oh, I'm going to take this class, and I want you to come with me." And I was like, okay. I kind of, you know, thought quilting was some old lady thing. Here I am, an old lady. And I was like, I had no idea that it was as expressive and as artistic as it really is, right? And so after I made one or two quilts, I was like, hey, I like this. So it was good to be sewing again. I love sewing. And then, so I just started making quilts, and I was quilting them on my Bernina. And I had a little 630 Bernina. It was something I bought off of eBay because it had an embroidery machine on it. And it wasn't a small hoop. I think it was maybe 5 inches. I don't know. It was small. And it had the BSR, and I had my husband set me up this little table, and I quilted it in my living room. I mean, I had all my stuff in the dining room for a while because my kids were still at home, and I didn't have any room because it was a small house that we lived in California. And so yeah, I quilted most of those quilts on that Bernina for a while, and then it was killing my back and my shoulders. So I started looking at the long arms, and we ended up with a bonus one year that was pretty good, and so my husband let me buy one. I wasn't really sure, how much I was going to use it. I didn't want to spend all that money and not really use it, but I've quilted a lot of quilts since then, so I've used it a lot. But yeah, it sat in the dining room for a while, then it went back to the bedroom, then it went back to the dining room when the kids move in and out, And then finally I had the bigger room for a while, and the long arm was halfway in the closet. And then we did a remodel on the house because I wanted the master bathroom done. It was the last thing that we hadn't remodeled. It was an old house from the 80s. And so we ended up putting a little bit of an addition on the house too, and we made those bedrooms bigger with walk-in closets. So my long arm would fit in there better. And that was nice. I mean, the room's still like 12 feet by 16, I think. But it worked. And it was a nice little sewing room. I don't mind when it was small either. I have a much bigger one now, but it's because we have basements in South Dakota, and we have no basements in California. So that is the story of my long arm quilting journey. And so my career when I was working I was a GIS analyst. So I did a lot of different stuff that pertained to mapping, like Google Maps and things like that. But we used it in the oil fields. I worked in an oil company. And so I did a lot of server work. I did ETL work, which is moving data from database to database. I made maps for a while. I helped other people with their maps. I helped people with data. I built databases. I did a lot of different stuff. And it was fun. It was a good job. Good people. We all grew up together. We were all there for a long time. I gained a lot of technical skills when I worked there. But when I first started working there, I was hired as a drafter because I was an AutoCAD drafter, and they wanted me to do piping drawings and things like that, which I didn't really end up doing much of that. I ended up doing 3D modeling for pipelines and stuff instead, which was a lot of fun. And then we went through a layoff, and I ended up in the GIS department, which was kind of weird because that's what I was kind of doing before I even got the job there. I was working for the fire department, inputting all their roads for their 911 system. So it was kind of like a circle back. Anyway, my AutoCAD skills worked out really well because we would get drawings of pipelines and AutoCAD, and I could convert those into our GIS system. And so, yeah, I think I did okay. And so I've been a drafter for over 30 years. And I do 3D modeling and for my 3D printer. But I have to tell you, my husband's better at it than I am. My thread is all caught on this. I finally got him, I bought him this printer, and he never used it for a couple of years, and I used it a lot. I make a lot of my sewing stuff with it. And then he finally learned how to use the 3D modeling program, and he makes all kinds of stuff. He makes parts for everything. And he's actually a little bit better at the modeling than I am, so. And then I finally got him to learn how to use AutoCAD, so he's been using that a lot too. Because I pay for it, so we might as well use it. So we make a good team. So that's my life story. I'm on my last row, and this blue line represents the boundary of my quilt. And if I let it stitch like this, well, it would definitely stitch over the boundary, which is okay, there's room. But it's gonna leave these like gaps, and they're not huge, but I don't really like them. So I'm just gonna select my whole pattern. And I think I'm going to just elongate it just a little bit. And you won't be able to notice it in the quilt at all. I hear my husband's motorcycle outside. He must have started the motorcycle. So now we just have just a little bit of a gap. I think I would still like to move it more, but I don't think I can stretch it anymore. All right, I finished my chicken quilt finally, and I'm getting ready to unroll it, and I got my electric scissors, and we're gonna get busy. So there it is. And my long arm is very dirty. So this is what the front of the chicken quilt looks like. I think it looks really beautiful. I think the quilting design I used looks really good. The quilt looks nice and square. And so I pieced the back because I was trying to use some of this fabric I have. And so that's what the back looks like. And then it's got this spot right here where you could see the little chickens on the back too, because I outlined all the chickens. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's a chicken right here. And let me see if I can show you. It looks really cute, the little chickens on the back. So I think it turned out really well, and I'm pretty happy with it.